of a way to die. Glory, glory, what a hell of a way to die. Hey guys, welcome back to the Bucket Think Tank for the round of Comic Run Chat, or Comic Chat. Oh, slipped my mind. It's been a while, hasn't it? Um, but anyway, so Green Lantern, Alan Scott Green Lantern, Jay Garrick's Flash, and Wesley Dodds Sandman finished last month, actually. Yeah, here we are trying to get a jump on that. So anyway, Green Lantern Alan Scott finished. I love this. Picture is both romantic and aggressive at the same time. In case you haven't realized it, Alan Scott is still gay. So anyway, when we last talked with this whole story, Alan realized, oh, dude, like Vlad, I hate to tell you this, you didn't matter. All right, they've already replaced you. Luckily, I got some JSA friends all of a sudden. And that's really what this story is, sort of the wrap up of this. And we see the JSA coming in to engage with the Soviets, Red Lanterns, and yeah, it's the sort of truth is they aren't ready to face the JSA, let alone Alan Scott's fluctuating powers and Vlad. So even when they take sort of like knock Vlad down, uh, Alan gets his power boost like no, and yeah, he's arrested and whatnot. Primarily, Vlad's arrested because hey, he killed all the Soviet soldiers. So in his own way, he was like, yeah, I did it for the Kremlin and what. It's weird. It's weird, whatnot. There's no Kremlin in the Soviet Union. Okay, is it? Is it? I'm just coming off as an idiot now. Whatever. So anyway, Alan goes to visit old Vladdy in prison, and yeah, it's pointed out like a lot of violent non-aggression acts have been activated. Effectively, World War II is beginning now. So yeah. Apparently, I don't like Arizona green tea. Hang on. No, I don't. Well, anyway. So they have a talk. It gets like slightly tragic, slightly beautiful, slightly romantic. Like, hey man, yeah man, did you? I don't know. I do, and yeah, there's a whole lot going on here, but I think not only would this be better if I probably shook it up, but at the same time, this is more just sort of closure going on here. I like the fact that it takes a while for Vlad to sort of break down and call him Alan instead of just Lantern. And sort of realizing what's been going on here, that he's probably never going to get out of here. But little do we know that, there's always a way out. And it turns out he kept a bit of the Red Flame, or the Red Flame's apart, because he was killed and brought back over and over again. So who knows exactly how connected he is to the Red Flame still. And of course, we then find out this is all just a story told by Alan to his son. And that sort of works in some ways, but also bringing up the fact, hey, what about, your wives? And so he was trying to figure out exactly who he was, all right? And so it led to his first wife. You're like, hey, was that just a one-time thing? Was like he was an exception to the rule, or am I actually gay? And I think really he first thing, yeah, I thought it was bisexual. No, I wasn't. I'm like, it seems like you were bisexual. Yeah, I mean, if the idea was that you were attracted, or if he really was in that huge level of denial, I would have thought the obvious would have been that at some point he just had a lavender wedding, which is a wedding between two heterosexual people, well, between two people, and they're aware that one of them isn't, straight. And usually it's done to avoid social stigma or to secure inheritances, like, hey, if you provide me with, an heir or whatnot, or provided you're married, you get this or that, that's sort of it. It's designed to make things easier for people that don't quite fit into the current society, especially when said things might still be illegal. So it works out there. This might be one of the best parts about the book, is just this conversation Alan has with his son. It's great. It's so weird because Obsidian was the one that came out as gay before the reboot, before the New 52 reboot, and Alan had to deal with that. So it's sort of weird in some ways to see Alan sort of dig his heels in and have all those issues, accepting his son being gay. So I don't quite know how that one works out, but whatever, whatever. There's also a bit about Alan trying to learn to travel through time with his ring, because apparently he can do that. And he says, like, well, if I am, look, I know enough about time travel to know I shouldn't do it, but I think I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to write a letter to myself. It basically says something like, look, I know you. Trust me, if I tell you any more, you're going to do something stupid, but just let you know that you are Green Lantern and you are loved. And yeah, that's it. It sort of joins up with the JSA. And my problem with this book is I still don't think it does a good job of trying to understand what Green Lantern is to Alan, what it means to be a hero, and we don't have to break down like what it means step by step. But I think what would have helped would be again if the in-universe people give us their opinion of Green Lantern. Even more so, who is Alan Scott in this universe? It sort of feels like the whole thing is like he's a man trying to hide who he is, but who is the person he's presenting himself as? At what point do the person we pretend to be and the person we are sort of intertwine? Who is Alan Scott to the community? I think that would have helped sort of shape his character going forward, but I guess if that were the case, then people couldn't know that Alan goes around, with the having sex with male prostitutes. So, whatever. It is what it is on that one. It felt like Tim Sheridan had a good idea, but didn't quite know how to really tie it together. Maybe it was a 6-issue format. Maybe 10 issues would have been better for him. I don't know. I don't know. But he did seem to really sort of tie it up when our characters finally get together. It seemed there was more interest in getting that meeting and setting up Alan's horrible life as, like, a closeted gay man in denial about who he is and going forward, getting confirmation of respect, like, yeah, dude, it's all right. God loves you. I don't know. Whatever. Um, Maybe this story will age better in a year or so, but who knows? Now, some story that aged perfectly this whole time was Jay Garrick and the Flash. So, over the course of the story, we found out more about Judy. Not necessarily why she went missing. That was still the child minor. And Hourman, was it 3? 4? One of the Hourmen. And turns out Professor Hughes, Dr. Elemental, love that name, who was behind the actual incident that turned Jay Garrick into the Flash, and has been trying to go after Judy this whole time because, well, she's sort of his experiment too. And the last issue ended with him kidnapping Judy, and Jay is in no mood. Jay is in no mood. He is searching the planet for his daughter. He's like, no way. No, I just remembered I have a child, and she's been taken? No, all bets are off. I am scouring this planet. Honestly, though, he really should have, I think I'd been thinking, look, if all the Flashes search the planet, we'll find her. We will find her. But I think what really got me is when Joan called him. And she's like, you know what, Jay? You find our girl. All right, you find our daughter. I'm like, this has to be everything. Because it had to be hard enough, for being Joan. Having to, sit back and, wonder whether or not sometimes if Jay was going to come home. If he was either going to be killed or, sent backwards or forwards through time. But then to find out that, hey, we have a daughter. It's sort of like, a lot of fears sort of came home with the fact that, oh, our daughter, we didn't remember we had a daughter. So now that she's back, no, she can't lose her daughter again after all this time. So, and Jay's like, it was never an issue. Never an issue. He's just now more resolved. So we find Dr. Elemental had Judy up here on a sorry, I've been watching Game of Thrones. She's at the dread for it. So anyway, what Dr. Elemental is going to do is he's going to try to use her as like a beacon to propel humanity to the next level. Because remember, Dr. Elemental's plan was to try to awaken a sort of metahuman gene in everybody. Didn't quite work. It only worked for Jay, but it didn't seem to work well enough, but it did seem to pass on to Judy. So he's going to use that as a beacon, using all the star labs everywhere to trigger this. Doesn't matter. Jay is here to shut the whole operation down. He's never looked scarier. Like, this man, no, I will burn this world down to find my daughter. All right. And it gets insane. He gives him the old 1-2 flash uppercut. The man should be dead. But he's like, nope. finish the project, and it goes in. So what's he do? Jay runs faster than he's ever run before. And he's like, I could probably travel through time, but I'm not as fast as Jay, as Barry, Wally, or I think even Wallace. Like, I think Jay's pretty slow compared to the species, but he's like, you know what? I also don't think, hear me out, we should be traveling through time. Just don't think we should do it. But not just because, like, time travel is a terrible thing, you probably shouldn't keep doing it. He believes that flashes are designed to move forward, all right? Always going forward. All right, no matter what happens, you keep going and head towards the future. All right, and he goes in, destroys all the Star Labs of beacons. Like, yeah, goes in, saves his daughter, and yeah, this is where I sort of start to break down a bit, because while they're all looking at Jay in the hospital, like, realize his body's been through a lot of damage. She talks about how, like, remember when, she was on his shoulders, felt like she was the tallest person alive. And she talks about, that, he and Joan are so worried about being so old, but she's like, no, you're still my dad. You're still my hero. And she needs him. And, as you do, that's what wakes him up. And it's sweet. It's tender. Oh, I was great. Like, Judy Garrick is a precious center role, and we will all protect her. I almost ran out there, too. All right? And then we get a nice picture of pretty much the JSA and the Flash family, which I liked. I like that. I like Wally taking a picture. I like Jay, Joan, and Judy. I do love that picture. I really do. I think it's fun. And I guess that's Jai. Keep the J's right there. I like it. Overall, Jay Garrick the Flash is probably the best out of these three. Good art, good story, great characterization. Really sort of playing off exactly the events of Stargirl and the Lost Children. So continue that story in one form or another, and I think a better way than Jeff Johns is doing with his own story with the JSA. But whatever. Overall, though, I think really fun. Now we have Sandman, Wesley Dodds Sandman, a breathtaking finale. And, so if you recall last issue, it turns out the bad guy was Mr. Vanderwyle the whole time. Who'd have thought it was the rich guy? Yeah, this ain't gonna work out. Not gonna work out at all. So anyway. Wesley shows up to fight Mr. Vanderwyle. Like, dude, all this was you. You're like, yeah, all of it was me. And he talks about how, like, that meeting with the military guy, yeah, it was all precursor. Like, the whole point was to get that stuff from you. All right, he's gonna get the whole time. And really, this is about the coming war. All right, Vanderwyle wants to not necessarily just get the profit, but he also wants to win the war. Pretty much every side that's been against Wesley has been like, this is, like, it's great to incapacitate them, but the only way to win this war is to destroy the enemy. All right, so all this, like, hey, let's knock them out, and then what? All right, it's not going to work. So we do see the sort of ideological difference between the two of them. And what's interesting is they're, like, Vanderwyle served with Wesley's dad. So they should have. So they're both speaking from some of a similar perspective. Vanderwyle was there for all the stories that Wesley's dad told him about during the war. So there is this sort of interesting approach to it. Vanderwyle was there. It's like, what? The only way to win is to destroy the enemy. Wesley's like, hearing my dad talk, I don't think that's the right way to go about this at all. All right, I think there has to be a better solution. And it's hard to figure out which one of them is right, which one of them is wrong. I don't think it's that simple. But I think the whole point is, you blew up my house, you have used my gas, and you're planning to use it to commit unspeakable atrocities during a war. Yeah, no, see, here's the thing. You may not be all right, but you're wrong. All right? You're wrong. There we go. And really, that is sort of where this goes, this ideological clash. Wesley throwing his notebook into the fire so it's all gone. So Wesley's the only person who can do any of that stuff. it's not a perfect ending because I think the problem is we may have expected this to go higher, and this other Sandman I think we were expecting to be more present in the story. But overall, I think it's a fun, decent story that ultimately, like, it has a happy ending, but it doesn't have like the best ending. I think this is sort of the appropriate 6 issue story. It doesn't reinvent the wheel. Everything here sort of has no real consequence going forward. The weirdest thing is though is that later Wesley's offered to join the JSA. I'm like, how'd you guys know about him? Like, what about anything Wesley does is like, it really feels like at some point the Sandman book and Alan Scott's book was supposed to come together. All right, and I guess Flash's book should have come together too. I think in a perfect world, these 3 books would have converged on one point, further inspiring Doctor Elemental. But overall, I would say these 3 books were decent enough. With Tim Sheridan, it really did sort of help me sort of solidify what I'm looking for in a story, let alone Green Lantern story. I'm not going to act like I'm the biggest Alan Scott, fan out there. I like him in the JSA stories I have read with him. So, there we go. I've been indifferent to him in Earth 2. So, but then it's been a while since I read Earth 2. So, again, grain of salt on that one. Jay Garrick has been like my favorite Flash for a while. Any guy that wears a hat the whole time is going to be my favorite. Just how that works. Then, of course, Wesley. Look, Riley Rosmo's art makes me question every book. Ever since I read like his Wonder Woman one, I just couldn't stop looking at that art. It's like it just took me out of the story. His Robin King story was fun. I haven't yet built up the strength to read the Robin book he did the art for. This is still, I think, the best work he's done in ages, like ever, actually. So I think this works. I think he needs a strong writer to help you stomach through some of this work. But if it stays like this, I think it's great. I think it's gonna be great. So overall, the best story by default was Jay Garrick the Flash. Sort of did everything it was supposed to do. Followed by Wesley Dodd's Sandman. Again, sort of, it's a bit of a slow go. It's very grounded, pretty much a street level story. But I think if you went to Sandman expecting something other than street level, I don't know what to tell you. And of course, Alan Scott sort of at the bottom. It made it at the end. Like, I think it sort of made it worth it at the end by making it the story it was. I think it should have been more Jade and Obsidian, like, Alan Scott's children, finding like his journal or whatnot and understanding the story, tying it into the Red Lantern that way to try to find him. It's my 2 cents in on it. But overall, I think Tim Sheridan sort of was more interested in getting those 2 characters together than sort of really telling that story of Alan Scott as Green Lantern. But that's my 2 cents in it. So what did you guys think? Did you like him? Did you hate him? Leave your thoughts in the comment section. I'll catch you all later. This is the Bunker Think Tank signing off. Thanks for watching. As always, may your fandom serve you well. And I'm going to find better tea.